Hey, welcome to this episode of the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about mostly account-based marketing, but also what works today. How do we leverage all this MarTech information to make sense out of it and really target our ideal customer profile, get the people who are in market, find out who they are, connect with them. And I got Shari Johnston, who's got her own company now. She's been a CMO several times or a VP of marketing, and now she's out on her own. And we're going to talk over what's working today and what's not working today and where the market is going and what technologies you should be looking at. I think you're really going to like this episode. Before we dig into it, one of the key parts about account-based marketing is getting those conversations started and getting meetings. Now, whether this is part of sales or marketing, it's up to you. But if you're looking for a smarter way of doing it, I've got a course it's a course, it's content, it's a community, and we've got about 25 hours of examples that have been recorded, as well as the exact recipe that I use and recommend to my clients. It's been insanely effective. 5x to my business this year. The people who are really embracing this course are just crushing it, getting C-level meetings within weeks. And it's just a natural, organic way of doing it. No trickery, no gimmicks. It's how people think. The course is start the conversation, get the meeting. If you'd like to talk about it, you can get it on my calendar at b2brevenue.com. I got my free ebook there as well, so you can understand how companies make product selections so that you can build your marketing and sales strategy and align with it. Let's get into the interview with Shari. I'll sum it up at the end. And one of the key tools you might want to use is Discover.org. Discover.org does all that research for you. 200 plus researchers looking at your market, finding out all their contact information, connecting up with their websites, their blogs, finding out who's in market for you and giving it all to you, for pennies on the dollar. Discoverorg.com, check them out. And if you talk to them, make sure you tell them you heard it on the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Hey, Shari, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I'm Shari Johnston. I've been this is my fifth B2B SaaS startup that I have been at, and after taking that experience, from demand-based, OpenDNS, and Radius, I am now moving into doing some ABM strategy and consulting work for some companies and helping them get ABM off the ground. So I'm excited to be here.
Cool. Hey, so what are people asking for when you go in? I'm sure people have some preconceived notions about what ABM can do for them, but what do you typically find when you go in?
Yeah, there's a few different things in the market that tend to bubble up the most. Most notably is around MarTech, and understandably, moving your MarTech stack from a traditional demand gen approach to ABM can be confusing, and there's a lot of messages out there around different technologies supporting ABM that can be confusing. So they're looking for help with sort of a non-vendor oriented approach to how to select a MarTech stack for their own needs and what they really need to scale, what they need to adjust in their current MarTech stack to make it work for ABM. So that's one. Otherwise, the other two that resonate are organizational design. There's a lot more alignment that needs to happen in ensuring that a lot of the company, frankly, is on the same page with ABM and is supporting that new approach, and that can take some change management. And then three, just really making sure it's executed well. Everything from goal alignment to really understanding what ABM is the third one, where people are looking for guidance. Confusion around, ABM is not just advertising to certain accounts, but, in my mind and where I have had personal success with ABM is really taking these kind of three key elements in place when you're thinking about ABM tactics, which is it really connecting with the business of your customer? Is it adding value to your prospect? And are you making it personalized? And when you have those three aspects to your ABM outreach, it tends to be incredibly effective, whether it be sales outreach, a direct mail campaign, or a personalized ad.
And what's driving people towards ABM? Is it kind of that we've hit peak content, that the blogs and the content strategy isn't producing the leads that they used to be, or is it that now technology has enabled us to know who's out there? Because before we needed content to surface people, but now we have the technology to know who is out there.
Sure. Yeah. My opinion is more the first one where, I think we leaned so heavy into demand gen and there was so much emphasis on numbers that people just got drowned in noise.
Yeah.
And ABM allows you to really focus in on those customers, those prospects that are really likely to be customers, as opposed to weeding through a lot of noise that is, frankly, wasting both resources and money out of your budget to nurture these folks that are never going to be customers of yours. And that's something that I am incredibly passionate about. As all marketing leaders, our budget is very precious to us, and how do we make sure we're squeezing the most out of that? And that's where ABM really helped me scale faster. By really making sure I am focusing those resources and budget on those companies that are going to be customers for my organizations.
Because I kind of see this trend changing that a lot of CMOs aren't getting, in that the old model of building a hub and having content that's a magnet for people towards you is moving more to the platform, being the internet, being social platforms, content platforms, and to try and find people that are in market. That's where they're going. I'm not sure they're going to vendor sites as much, because the listicles and stuff aren't as interesting, and they're all biased, and they're all kind of thin. And I'm seeing that is the real driver for ABM, because when I talk to clients, the salespeople, they're just overwhelmed with contacts. They're not leads. They're not even qualified. They're not even in the target profile. People were incentivized to get a ton of them, and now they're responsible for sifting through them to try and find who is qualified. And I think today, with ABM and kind of the in-market technologies, that we can kind of tell who is most likely to be interested at this time.
That's a really good point, and definitely using more intelligence and leveraging technology, like you just mentioned, to not only within my addressable market, who should I be going after, but using data, but also, who's ready to buy. Just because you have a profile of someone who needs your technology does not mean your particular organization is at a point in time that they're ready to purchase or have any intent to purchase your offering. So, using technologies that can really understand across the web, whether it be, to your point, various publications, whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be your own website, and looking at that buying intent across the internet to help bubble up those accounts that are going to be your best bet is really key.
And how about as far as the wrestling of what accounts to go after? Because I've certainly been in the room when they start doing it, and they always take the Fortune 50 at a brand new startup, and it's like, you're not going to get in the Fortune 50. It's like, let's go after the ones you're most likely going to get into. Do you have to go through that wrestling match?
Definitely. Yeah, that's a big part of what I help clients with. Probably the biggest sticking point is really helping understand who you're going after to begin with. And frankly, if you're going after the wrong people to begin with, your ABM strategy is definitely going to fail. So a really important part of the process. And something I definitely suggest align my clients around sales and marketing being involved in the process. I wrote a blog post on this around sort of what I call the art and science of choosing a target account list. Part of it is, science oriented, where we're looking at, hey, maybe, our typical taking your customer that is a great profile of what of a successful customer looks like, looking at attributes that they have, whether it may be, hey, key technologies that they use, it may be a vertical that they're in, it may be a company size, or it may be a combination of those things, and then applying that to your prospect list of folks that are not customers and trying to find lookalike modeling using that data. But then there's also an art to it as well. Your reps and your sales team specifically have a lot of industry knowledge around those accounts. They may have a buddy at a particular one that may make that selling process easier. So using that sort of art and science approach of the data that is involved in account selection, as well as an overlay of not only personal relationships, but things like you may know that your product is moving up market or adding features that would open up a specific part of an addressable market that you haven't had on your current customer base but today, and using both of those intelligent pieces together. And coming up with a count list that you guys all feel really good about these being your next best customers is really key.
And I think that is it, because even whenever it was a rep, I always looked, there was a pattern where they would hire a consultant or they would hire a team. And I'm certainly back in the 90s, people would buy their stack in a certain order, and they still do it today. If somebody's just putting in a CRM, that's when they're going to put a cadence tool in, that's when they're going to put a call intelligence tool in, and they're going to put this tool and that tool in. But if they've already got those tools, then you'd have to extract them or wait till the renewal is up. There's a lot of detective work that goes into this. Have you looked at technologies to kind of that parse that information, or?
Yeah. So in terms of account selection, there's a variety of folks out there that do that, depending on what your key attributes are. Back when I was originally doing this, I used some of the predictive vendors to kind of help align what accounts using lookalike modeling and more sophisticated attributes on my account list to help me sift through the weeds. Then it's gotten more and more automated to, folks like HG Data help with a lot of the existing, the additional technology data. And then Demandbase has done a lot to really help automate the process within their own platform as well. And then there's, in terms of contact acquisition for accounts, anything from even just Datanyze, has been pretty successful at it as well. So a lot to choose from, but I think where understandably clients are confused is there's a lot of overlap, a lot of choices, and a lot of, depending on what type of content you need or what type of data you need, the vendor's selection some are more appropriate than others.
And once you have the accounts and you have the priorities, how do you go about engaging with them? Is it through ads? Is it through gifts? Is it through messaging? What do you recommend?
Well, that's the fun part, I think. once
it's not easy.
Finally, the fun, the rubber to the road, and really, start getting after these accounts, and where I've always started, is going back to that original, okay, here's our successful customers that we have moved over the line. How did they engage with us? How did we get them from understanding who we are to a closed won deal? So I'll look at data within our Salesforce and marketing automation system to understand digitally what that customer journey looked like between sales and marketing touches, and really draw some insights from there. Lots of times we'll have noticed, for instance, in an enterprise deal that we really need to have some sort of high impact face-to-face interaction before to move them from that awareness stage to opportunity. So looking at things like in-person events and where can we find all these now accounts now that we have this core account list, we'll really seek out events and in-person opportunities where we can get our reps in front of those key accounts and really help, both from an awareness, engagement, and conversion perspective, help them get in there.
Yeah. Have you seen advertising not be as effective as it used to be, or?
I have seen advertising effective. I think so. Where I like to use advertising is providing a halo effect to my program. So if I'm running an ABM program, I don't, you can't expect advertising to really directly create pipeline. Yeah. But let's say I am Dreamforce, for instance, is a great one where I've leveraged it before. We know that pretty much almost every account in the technology space is going to be in town for Dreamforce. So being able to we have an appointment setting campaign, for instance, for Dreamforce that will create pipeline. Having the halo effect of advertising to those key accounts that we're trying to get appointments with at Dreamforce, if I do an A/B test between the ones I don't do advertising to and the ones that I do, I will definitely be able to create, I've seen anywhere from 30 to 50% more appointments to those accounts by adding advertising and having that halo effect of advertising on top of another tactic. The other way that I've seen account advertising really work using that halo effect is accelerating opportunities. So what rep wouldn't want ads going to their in-pipe accounts everywhere they go to all their key decision makers while they have an open opportunity and are trying to close it? That's there's a way to make your account reps happy as a marketer is helping them just get more awareness and keep them top of mind while they're trying to close a deal.
That's it. I mean, retargeting, some people don't like it, but if you're constantly in front of somebody, you may annoy them, but you kind of blind them to any other alternative. And I've kind of been the victim of retargeting, and it can be annoying, but I also noticed that I forgot about anybody else in that space.
Yeah, we forget that, we think about our companies that we're pitching all day, but, we probably have mind share of 1% to 2%, if we're lucky, of our prospects. So yeah. Keeping us top of mind is important.
And are you seeing, or what is sales asking for from a minimum? Because now we have the contact information already. We don't need that anymore. Marketing isn't going to be able to probably get a meeting. They're going to maybe get an invite to an event, a dinner, a cocktail party, an open house, something like that. What type of agreement is working today with sales?
That's a good question. This is one where I think a lot of organizations struggle. If the accountability between just sales and just marketing is not really the same with ABM. With ABM, it's a partnership.
Yeah. And
the partnership aligns around, obviously creating more pipeline and close won deals at the end of the day. But the strategy should be able to produce, and marketing should be on the hook for this just as much as sales. But having an ABM approach, I have always seen helps in these three key metrics. So you moving away from the MQL and really moving into looking at, hey, is my close rate improving? Am I no longer putting a bunch of accounts in the pipeline that aren't going to convert anymore? So using an ABM, that should definitely increase. Larger deal sizes. If I'm focusing on accounts that really need our technology and are really good fits for it, I typically will see larger deal sizes where they are able to purchase a broader scope of our technology than or service offering than not. And also just accelerating the sales cycle. We've seen by getting the right accounts in the sales cycle, the sales sales accelerates, and who doesn't want those three metrics as part of your go to the board next and be able to kind of show those gains quarter over quarter.
And are you seeing interest in companies or customers of yours in putting the sales development role under marketing to get either the meetings or build interest or start conversations with them, as opposed to it being under sales where, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I've got mixed emotions about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of the ongoing struggle between the two. My personal, having seen it both ways, having been in many different organizations with different setups here, I don't have a golden, if I had to put a gun to my head, I think it's typically a better situation when they're under sales. And the reason being is primarily because SDRs are a tough role. And, I think they need, I think seen it a little bit struggle where there's not much of a career path, a clear step up when you're under the marketing organization. I have had some pretty progressive marketing SDR managers who were under marketing who did create amazing career paths into sales from their own organizations. And that has proven to be successful, but that's fairly rare. Mostly where I've seen it work is just when there's really great alignment and there's a really great handoff and everyone is really in it together. Yeah. And my teams on the marketing side have always been tasked with pipeline, but yet there's no way for us to create pipeline ourselves. So they are always very incentive to be best buddies with their SDR and make sure these coveted hand raises from any ABM accounts are followed up on and closed, and that they're arming them with as much ammo as they can between follow-up assets to battle cards, et cetera, to make them successful and make sure that they are then converting any deals into opportunities. So, to me, it's really just more about an alignment and processes between that handoff, and not so much about which department they sit in.
And I think it lends itself to better alignment, because when both are picking out the accounts, if it fails, they both own it, as opposed to the old model of demand gen where they're incentivized to get quantity instead of quality, and counting and rewarding people on quantity instead of quality. Are you surprised that there hasn't been any ABM agencies emerging?
ABM agencies?
Yeah, somebody who takes the aggregate of all these technologies and then the art and the science and provides that as a service to accounts. I'm always surprised that hasn't happened yet, or maybe it has and I'm unaware of it.
I think there are a few out there in terms of helping folks, navigate the waters with ABM. But I see it growing more and more. The adoption, even though it is a hot topic, is still pretty coastal and still with fairly progressive organizations. I was talking to Autodesk the other day and was impressed with some, it bleeding into some of these enterprise accounts that are really investing heavily in it, seeing some initial successes with pilots. So, I think we'll see it more and more. I think, for folks to get started, definitely recommend, at least if it seems overwhelming, seems like a lot of MarTech, a lot of investment, picking a couple reps and that are well aligned with you and creating a small pilot and testing it out and proving it out and showing results first will help with buy-in and investment and resources that you need to run it more holistically in your organization.
That's it, because I think it would be hard to do from a cold start, to make that switch without somebody who's done it before.
Agreed. And also, I think it helps people understand, there's a lot of learnings that go along with this that it can kind of help educate how ABM works for the rest of the organization and kind of bring them along to why it works and why it's important and how it will help the company so that when you do roll it out holistically, everyone's a bit more bought in and has an idea of how we'll get from A to B.
Cool. Hey, I really appreciate you joining us today. Where do people go to connect with you and learn more about your work?
Sure, yeah. You can find me at digbysf.com. There's more about what I do, and we're happy to chat and connect with folks who are interested in learning more about ABM.
Hey, I hope you like that. I really want to thank everybody who's helped promote the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Share it with a friend, a coworker, tell somebody about it. If you'd like to be on it, if you'd like to share your story, get the word out about your company and what you're doing, all the great work that you have done, let me know. Just connect up with me on LinkedIn and I will connect you with my booker for the podcast and we'll get you on the show. I'd love to hear your story. And if you'd like to get on my calendar to talk over the courses and how I can help you fill that pipeline for the rest of the year, 2018 and on to 2019, just go to b2brevenue.com. Under training, my calendar link is in there. Just pick a 15-minute slot. All I ask is that you be serious and you show up. That's all. Hey, I really appreciate you listening. Make sure you're checking out Discover.org if you're looking for the best MarTech database out there of everybody in your market, whether you're in IT, sales tech, MarTech. They've got legal. They've got all kinds of data sources all over the U.S., Canada, and U.K. Check it out. Just talk to them. They're super great team of people, super friendly. They'll help you out. Also, have you tried co-video yet? Co-video is the way of the future. Video email is crushing it. It's so much more personalized than text email. Super effective. Also, if you haven't standardized on a CRM or if you're looking for a more powerful CRM that isn't as clunky as Salesforce or whatever you're using, try pipedrive.com. Pipedrive.com with the brutal truth. Coupon code will get you 1 month free. They'll help you transition from whatever CRM you're using today to Pipedrive. They're killing it. It's the one I've been using. I've been using it for like 3-4 years now. My team loves it. It's the only CRM I've really adopted and loved and used. So if you're not using it, check it out. And even if you don't buy it, just go check out their blog. I'm working with them on their content. We're coming up with great sales content. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.